This past week, I participated in the Global Game Jam, and in this video, I want to share my experiences and the learnings I gained from it. So let's get started. So, what's a game jam? A game jam is nothing but you have a limited amount of time, for example, a weekend or a whole week, and in that weekend, you have to collaborate with people and then make a game. So, in my case, we had this the past weekend where I had to go to a physical location. This is not an online event. This is a physical location. I had to go to a physical location and then collaborate with people, with strangers basically, and then make a game. So the game jam started at 5 p.m. in the evening in White Avenue, which is an area in Edmonton. So I had to be there at 5, and we had a networking session where I got to talk with people and know their backgrounds. And there were mostly programmers, and most of them wanted to work in Unity engine. I'm not familiar with Unity. I haven't worked much with it. I know Unreal Engine, and I feel I am more comfortable with Unreal. So I was looking for a team which was okay with me working for an Unreal project. There was one particular team and they agreed for it, so we went ahead with it. But the thing was, I was still not confident, and I'll get back to it in like as we proceed. Okay, and the theme was announced. The theme was basically called masks. So we had to come up with a theme related to masks for our game. So what we made use of was, our game was basically a 2D game where the player can move around the tiles. And when you drag an element, right, you create a selectable item when you drag in windows. So we wanted to create something similar. When you move over an item which is hidden, the tile highlights it, and the highlighted tile shows up the item. So the goal is to activate as many collectibles as possible in order to move to the next level. That's basically the gist of it. This was planned on Friday. We came up with the idea. We came up with the levels, how the level should be sketched out. And once we got that in place, it was basically, I started getting this thought, okay, maybe I need to not use Unity. Maybe I need to go with Unreal. And but so after sketching out the idea and the levels, I started getting this thought, the team is good with Unity, and I'm the only guy who is in Unreal. And will it be okay for just one single programmer to work on Unreal? So I was like, okay, let me download Unity. I was confused, and I was like, let me download Unity. And I downloaded the engine Unity, and it took a lot of time. It took around 2 hours for it, and most of Friday was done. So the game jam, it was a no crunch game jam, which means we were not supposed to work throughout the night. So that's the reason I had to come back home at 9. So basically what I did on Friday was just to download the engine. So the next morning 9 a.m. I was ready, and I went to the event at around 10 a.m. and I started seeing tutorials of Unity, because we agreed with Unity. And when I started working on it, my progress was very slow. And at around 11 a.m. I talked to the to my guy, like the person who designed the game. I told him I'll work with Unreal as I'm fast with Unreal, but he was like, I am not familiar with it, so I'll not be able to help you with anything. I was willing to take that risk, and I was like, okay, let me go with Unreal. This is one of the mistakes which I made. I had to choose an engine. I had to stick with it, but I was confused. I was like, Unity or Unreal, or Unreal or Unity, and finally I landed up in Unreal. And when I opened the Unreal C++, I wanted to start with the C++ project. I started with it, and when the game started, like the engine, when I tried to run the engine, it started complaining a lot. The Visual Studio complained a lot, so I was not able to start a C++ project. And guess what? I had to start with a blueprint based Unreal project. And that was the second mistake which I made, going with the blueprint. So when I started doing with the blueprint, as I started coding it, it started causing issues. I'll tell those issues as I move forward. Anyways, I started working with Unreal Engine. I started developing the system like one by one. I felt it was going smoothly, but at every point of time, I was like going to the designer and I was asking him what I need to change, because as I was implementing, I was facing issues. So I was going to him every time and I was changing. What did this cause? The main mistake which happened was I didn't plan out the architecture. I should have planned it out before, like I should have allotted a couple of hours just for planning the architecture. In that way, I would have avoided like the design decisions like would have been finalized in my head. It was finalized in his head but not in mine. I was still not I was still having questions on some things, and I used to change as I was asking him questions, and this resulted in me changing the architecture again and again. Instead of that, I should have come up with an architecture beforehand. Once I had the architecture in place, then I should have started working on the game. That's the mistake which I did. Okay, as the time went by, I started implementing features one by one, and the day ended with me at around 8 o'clock. I ended the day, and then I came back home, had my dinner, and once I had my dinner, again worked for a couple of hours in the night to get some of the things in. So the next morning, I went at around 9:30 a.m. On Sunday, and this time I didn't I was still confident that I could get things in with the limited time that I had. But as I was making the game, building the game, as the code got more complex, it started with the spaghetti problem of blueprints in Unreal. Because of this spaghetti problem, I was not able to debug it quicker like I imagined. So whenever when I was implementing a feature, like for example the collectible feature which I told you about, I implemented that feature, and once I implemented it, it started causing issues, and I was not able to resolve those issues faster because of the spaghetti code. I would have been more comfortable with it just being C++ in IDE, debugging it in IDE rather than with Blueprint. So this was a major issue, and then because of that, it slowed my progress. As I was moving along, it started slowing my progress. Also, when I'm talking about debugging, I didn't have a lot of logging in the game. I feel that after this jam, I realized that there should be a lot of logging involved. And if I log every step of the way, what is logging? It's basically information which gives out after every instance of a game. So when I played a game, like when I played an instance of a game, a log file will be generated, and I'll know exactly where the problems happen if I had logged it correctly. But I didn't do that. I used to log it when I faced an issue. I used to log it. I used to uncheck it. I used to log it again, which was not an ideal way. What's an ideal way? I should have it logged at all times. I should have done that. So whenever I was facing an issue, I used to add logging at that time rather than doing it previously. So this was the major reason why the progress was so slow, why debugging was very slow, and why I could not get in the most of the features which I had imagined. So as time progressed, I was more involved in the debugging. As a result, I was not implementing like inculcating all the things which were like, for example, art, and for example the level. I was not integrating them. I was more focused on just getting the features in. So instead of that, what I should have done was I should have started integrating whatever art they had done. I didn't do that. I made that mistake. I was like, let me do it at the last moment, and that came back to me. Like it didn't, it was not an ideal scenario. What I should have done, whenever the art was ready, I should have integrated that art and I should have tested it. For example, when I had a character, I was just using a cube initially which was moving around the world. So I replaced that cube with a character, which with the model of the character was done. And once I replaced it, it started causing me issues. There were collision problems, there were overlap issues, and because of that, I had to waste some more time trying to understand what is really going on, and this slowed my progress. So I feel the next time I should keep integrating the art into it. The other thing was, as I had a build which was put to the last moment. Instead of moving it to the last moment, what I should have done was I should have had a build beforehand, maybe like 5 hours before. And we initially imagined to have 10 levels in the game. And after, what I should have done, I should have first implemented a feature, get got a level done, initial level, and then made a build out of it. But I didn't do that. I was like, we were supposed to submit the build at 5 p.m. and at 4 p.m. I submitted the build, and guess what happened? The build broke. So what I should have done instead of doing this was I should have got a build ready at 1 p.m. That was the major mistake which I did. So because of this, I was not able to get the build in time, ready in time, without any assets. It was a really poor approach from me, and I don't think I'll repeat this. I should not repeat this mistake again. And it was a huge learning curve for me. So, but overall, when I think about the game, it was a good experience. I got to meet with strangers. I got to talk to them. I got to collaborate with them. It was an enriching experience. But it gave me a lot of learning. The 3 days was packed with a lot of learning. How to work in pressure cooker situation, how to resolve issues quicker. Like I understood about logging, I understood about debugging, I understood about what's wrong with blueprint coding instead of C++. So all this was a good learning experience. So after the build broke, I worked for another 3 to 4 hours, and then because I felt bad because there was so much art in the game and I was not able to get a build ready. It would not do justice to the designer who designed the game and the artist who created all those art assets. So I wanted to get at least 5 levels in, and I worked after the jam, got all these assets in, and I was able to complete 5 levels. So that was a good learning thing. Oh, and another thing. So what I did was, instead of I should have done feature to feature work. Like I should have got a minimum viable product. What did I do instead of doing a minimum viable product? I tried to get all the features in and then test it. I should have got one feature in and tested it, made a build, and then moved on. So in that way, if a new feature was in and it was causing issue, I could always retrace back to my old build and I could have submitted that. This was the mistake which I did. So these were all the learnings and mistakes, and I feel it was an enriching experience. I would like for sure go for another game jam. There is one in April which I'm planning to go because it will help me. The main reason why I went for this game jam is because I wanted to tickle that creative bone in me. When you're working on a certain kind of project, you'll not look at other areas. So I wanted to get a product in. Basically, I wanted to create a product, and this game jam was a good reason for me to do it. And in the end, even though couldn't do it within the 48 hours allotted to me, I was able to do it after it. Anyway, I got the product in, so it's a win in my book. So I think these learnings helped me become better as a game developer, and I feel we should all try to come out of our comfort zone every now and then, and experience something novel or new. In that way, it will help us grow as a person. It made me more resilient, and it made me, like I said, how to work in pressure cooker situation. So thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.